So welcome everybody. I hope you had a great morning. I will be moderating today with my colleagues here, and we're going to ask a lot of great questions and learn more about the many hats of leadership. My name is Kamal Shabalu. I'm the co-founder of Sukoon Inc. It's a meditation app, and it's all about helping people in supporting their mental health and just having a better lifestyle and a better start. Actually, just a better life in general, and it always starts with the mind. With that said, I'm going to give Ranjish, if you would like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hi guys, good morning. My name is Rajneesh Vermani. I've been in the industry for about 40 years, believe it or not. 30 as a line leader, rising to the CEO level. So I've been a CIO, a COO, and a CEO. And today, rather than running companies myself, I'm teaching others how to run companies. So I'm a coach, and I teach CXO level leaders around the world, in India predominantly, where I reside, but also around the world. Should I start with the topic, or it's just the introduction?
Let's introduce ourselves and then we'll go. Everybody has to.
Hi. Hi.
Pedro, please.
Thank you, Mo. Yeah, I'm Pedro. I'm the CEO of Whitebox. And yeah, I have been founded 3 companies during my whole life. Well, when I was invited to this panel, I was very happy because, yeah, being a therapist, cheerleader, motivator, CEO is like my daily life. So, very happy to discuss a little bit of things behind this.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Michelle Grigsby Hackett. I am the CEO of Affiliated Sante Group. We are based in the United States, in Maryland. We are the largest nonprofit behavioral health and crisis response organization in the state of Maryland, with services in North Carolina as well. In terms of being a leader, that's something that's I'm very passionate about. And I've been in leadership roles for about 15 years, division leader, program leader, COO, all the way up to CEO. I really enjoy mentoring others, helping individuals grow in the craft, especially in the space of behavioral health, where I have been in that industry for over 25 years. Excited about this topic and being able to talk about the various hats that leaders have to wear throughout the course of the work that we do, and not just professionally, sometimes in our personal lives as well.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Najla Wortham, and I am the CEO of the Rock Creek Foundation. We are also a United States-based behavioral health organization. We support individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, as well as severe and persistent mental health diagnoses. I have been in the behavioral health industry for over 18 years, so I have seen a lot of growth and change across our workforce in the United States. So I'm very excited to discuss this topic and to really do a deep dive on how we can holistically work with our workforce as they encounter some of the same insecurities as the individuals that we support in our industry.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for introducing yourselves. If there's one thing I notice is we all kind of are coaching. We are all kind of learning that we need to wear all these different hats as we support those around us in the best way possible. Now, Ranjish, you kind of said, hey, let's start with this. So I would like to start with the question of what are the hats that you've worn and what would you like to add to this topic?
Yeah, thanks, Kamal. So while we can talk of multiple hats, but I can possibly qualify them in 3 different categories. So the first hat, of course, is being a visionary, making sure that you're outward focused, understanding what the customer needs, understanding what the market is all about, what are the new innovations coming, what are the new things happening on the horizon, and so on and so forth. So the first hat most definitely is the visionary. The second hat is identifying talent, to try and get a team going that will deliver to whatever the customer is wanting, and to fulfill that promise, you need a team. So scouting for talent, again, looking out, listening to the folks around and trying to get to the best possible team. And the third is developing leaders. So the cheerleader, as was pointed out as well. Developing. Our jobs as senior leaders is all about identifying talent and grooming them and developing them to be the next CEO, to be the next CXO. So in each one of these three, I believe the common factor, it's three hats, but all three hats are residing on the ears. And that's the key message that at least I've learned over the course of my tenure is listening. Listening is probably the most underrated leadership skill. And I feel it's a common thread. It's a common thread. Whatever hat you're wearing, you need your ears. Otherwise, that hat will not stick. So somewhere along the line, making sure that you're listening. In fact, I have a three-character acronym I've coined as BGQ, bloody good questions. You have to have those bloody good questions to pose to people around you, whether it's the customer, find out what they want, whether it's to your junior employees, find out how they can be groomed up, or even to the external folks who you're trying to hire and identify the talent. Make sure that you have plenty of bloody good questions. In fact, as a CEO, Kamal, I used to say this. I may or may not have the right answers at any given point in time, but I will always have the right questions.
Thank you, Ranjish. And yes, a powerful question can open up worlds. And with that, I just want to, we're going to go a little bit to Pedro. And we talked a little bit about feedback and how to give feedback in the best way as a leader. So please tell us from your experience, Pedro, what would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's right now, it's a very difficult thing to do. At least with the younger generations, it's like the feedback, it's a very tricky part. It's like I'm managing, I'm not going to call old people, but older people and younger generations, and it's very different. For example, if you are talking with a 40-year-old man or woman, you can give feedback like normal, and they will understand. But with, 20, 25-year-old boy, it's like you have to be very, very careful. It's like you need to say things like in a very polite way, thinking about not hurting his feelings. And it's tricky because makes me feel like sometimes I'm afraid of giving feedback. And it's like, I don't want to feel bad to tell you, okay, this is bad. You did not do great. And you cannot be straightforward. You need to and this is like, sometimes I feel afraid. I think it's a thing that's happening with younger generations. I don't know how to tackle. Maybe I think the CEOs, maybe me, myself, we need some coaching sessions to give this feedback because it's not very easy. And yeah, I have some situations. They are. I mean, if you think from the outside, you say, "Really, it's happening this?" Sorry. Well, I think it's a very nice thing to talk about.
Thank you, Pedro. And yes, when it comes to giving feedback, how to give feedback throughout these multiple generations and what resources do these generations need and how do we need to tackle it in a way that best serves everybody and create a win-win situation. Now, with that said, Michelle, I can see you're nodding your head. What would you like to add to that?
Thank you. I think Pedro hit it right on the head. Having a multi-generational workforce really requires your leaders to be creative, to be dynamic, to really understand and be educated about the various generations they work with and what are their values, and then being able to speak to that. Also, I appreciate, Pedro, you saying that leaders have vulnerabilities, right? We have areas where we're not strong in. We need to be clear and we need to be able to self-reflect and be able to do our own evaluation so that we can continue to grow as leaders. That is critical to being able to not only have our own growth in how we work with our professionals, but also to demonstrate to them that it's okay to not know everything. It's okay to ask those questions. It's okay to feel insecure about certain things. That is natural. And so once we are able to recognize and work through that, being able to tap into things such as executive coaching. Right now, I do have all my leaders in executive coaching because there's always opportunities to learn, to grow, and help those that they are grooming and those that they are building and leading themselves so that they can do that and address the challenges that they may have.
I would just add, I think that consistent feedback loops is very important, and I think as an executive, you have to be open to this, to the same feedback. So I think that's very important. I think that also that it's important to recognize your staff. So even if it is not feedback that you are having during a supervision session or a one-on-one, that you have an opportunity to recognize your staff's wins, whether that is on some type of platform or some type of system that you put through HR. I think that staff are looking for praise, applause, recognition for what they do, because most of the times when they come into our offices, they assume that it is something negative or something that you are going to touch on that they are struggling in. So I think it's very important to do consistent feedback loops, have the feedback open, and also to recognize your staff when possible.
Thank you, Najla. And I want to add to that two-way road is extremely important. Without that two-way road, it makes it very authoritative. It makes that distance even bigger. So absolutely. Now you guys are obviously aware of that. So you're like, hey, all our leaders have executive coaching. And here then, based on Ranjish, what's a bloody good question can we ask to give feedback? And that.
What's a very good question? So, typically, a bloody good question to my mind is a thought-provoking question. If I ask you, Kamal, what did you have for breakfast? Of course, you know the answer at the tip of your tongue, it'll roll off. But if I ask you, saying, okay, what do you think went well in this project? What do you think you would do differently if this project was given to you again, the second time around, and so on? Those, to my mind, the thought-provoking questions are really the bloody good questions. And to me, every leader, at a C-level or otherwise, needs to be very good at asking these thought-provoking questions. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I would like to add that, with very good questions, having your staff be comfortable asking the leaders why. Why are we doing this? What is the expected outcome? And often staff are, because we don't have that open door and comfort in having our staff question us as leaders, that a lot of leaders expect people to blindly follow. But we really don't want individuals, but we want folks to understand the why behind the actions, and whether it's a strategic decision, a growth decision for the organization, or even if we're changing services, for staff to be able to understand what is going on, why, and what does it mean for me. Those are important, key critical questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky part what you mentioned, because sometimes I found employees that I think it's amazing questioning the leader, but sometimes I feel like, I have 10, 15 more years of experience than you, and I do this because of this. And sometimes I found people, 20-year-old people that says, well, okay, but I'm not agree. It's like they are not able to analyze that, well, maybe he is doing this because of something he's trying to explain. I'm not agree. And they get like the feeling of, well, I'm correct and you know nothing. And it's like, it's very disappointing. Like, okay, I try my best. I have much more experience than you. I do this because of this. Sometimes I think it's not about asking the right questions if the people that you are speaking with is not listening, right? So I think it's also a problem here. People sometimes don't listen, sorry. And yeah, it's pretty difficult for a leader to handle these people.
And I think, just to piggyback, but I think to Michelle's point, it's about being fully transparent about the why behind the decisions that you're making, because oftentimes from your desk, there will be decisions that you make that you won't need any feedback in. And so as long as you can be as transparent and open as possible about the why, then the expectation is that they trust you as a leader and they will follow. And if you have someone that is so resistant to your mission and to your strategic vision for the organization, they're not the right person for your organization, because when you're not around, they're supposed to champion what your strategic vision is. And you want to always make sure that you have staff that are always championing your decisions and your strategic vision in rooms that you're not in. Buy-in is very, very important for success of an organization.
Thank you. I think there's one more thing to add to all of that, which is, and you said it, Najla and Michelle, when you were talking about people not having that transparency, not having that open door, kind of makes it harder, and like people feel like when they're going into their manager's office, it's like they're going into the principal's office. It's like I'm in trouble for some reason. So, and this is where we need to ask to create how much of the feedback is only about constructive feedback. How much are we celebrating them? Because if we're not celebrating, and this is a neuroscience concept of what we celebrate, we integrate. How much are we acknowledging what they're doing well, not only what they're not doing well?
That's why recognition programs are very important. I know Michelle and I just recently rolled out in a recognition platform called AwardCo. So it allows us to recognize staff for milestones within the organization, birthdays, things of that nature. Also, it allows peer-to-peer recognition as well. So if you see someone doing something, you say something, but it also allows us to have recognition categories. So if you see someone that is upholding your mission, right, and your values of your organization, how do you recognize them, even if they are doing it not needing or assuming that they will be recognized for it? And it allows us to apply points for each category that someone demonstrates, and it is a monetary value. So it's also an incentive for you to say, okay, oh my goodness, I received 500 points because I showed dignity and integrity as related to Rock Creek's mission. And so now I can use this monetary item, right, and purchase an item. So I think it's about the recognition, platforms, and consistent opportunities for that.
Absolutely. But also I want to address Pedro when he was saying, hey, me as a leader, how can I give this feedback? How can we deal with that? So Pedro, I'm curious to what have you learned through your experience when it comes to giving feedback and that hat in leadership?
I think being very, straightforward is not good, because you're hurting feelings. You want to be transparent. You want to give a clear, direct message. Doesn't work, or at least doesn't work with young people. I had to change. I had to change my mind. It was hard for me because I'm very sincere. I'm clear the way I talk, but I'm changing this because I have had difficult situations that I don't want, and I don't want to make people feel bad for things. So I'm changing a lot the way I am at the company.
Oh, Ranjish, I can see you want to add, yes.
I wanted to add to this. So I've taken a lot of learning from parenting and sports into corporate leadership. Exactly like a parent, if my own child or if somebody in the neighborhood is making chaos or making silly stuff, I have to give that feedback one way or the other. What I've learned is distinguish between the person and the action. And always focus on the issue, focus on the action. Never blame an individual. If I tell you you are an idiot, or you are doing things wrong, or you are bad, obviously the fellow will not like it. But on the other hand, no, you are nice, but this action was not too good. This did not quite live up to my expectation. That, to my mind, is the best way. The other question you asked is how do we seek that opportunity? Typically, if we are in the feedback telling mode, chances are somebody will resist. whoever I'm telling this to. But if I give the other person an opportunity for me, and again back to BGQs, to me the biggest BGQ is what can I do to help? Is there anything I can do to help you achieve your goals? And the moment I say that, then the other person also becomes more conducive in seeking feedback as well. I don't know. Yeah.
Absolutely. You're reminding me of different leaders and how to handle leadership. Leadership is there. We are leaders because we are supporting. We're not leaders because we know better.
Very short, sorry. I want to mention also here that I think we haven't mentioned another hat for CEOs that your conversation reminds me. It's like the parent hat. Yeah, I have been recently a father. My boy is 1 year old. I mean, I strongly feel pretty similar this feeling of being a father with my employees. So
Yeah, I would just say that there's different leadership styles, and I think that you have to change your leadership hat when you are working with each one of your staff members. They require a different leadership style. So to the point of recognition, right? You may have a staff person that thrives off of that, and so you need to make sure when you're having those critical conversations that you're also putting recognition in that conversation as well. If you have someone like Pedro that's like straight up no chaser and they want the information, then that's how you provide it. So I think that that's another skill set that you need to make sure you have, is that you're understanding the individuals that you are working with and that you're supporting and how they best respond to feedback.
Oh, thank you. Absolutely. Michelle, what else would you like to add to this discussion?
I think the other panelists said it very well. It's a matter of understanding who you're talking to when you're giving the feedback, having the opportunity to receive feedback as well. Being able to, that's when you become the cheerleader and the champion, giving them the confidence to know that they can change that behavior, right? So they just need some feedback to be able to understand what there is to change, and then give them the encouragement and the support to be able to make that change. I think it's one thing to tell somebody that they need to change something, but how do you change it, right? And how can I be there to support you in changing that, and also help you feel confident in your ability to make that change? That's a critical piece, because that can be the difference between someone leaving your office and being devalued and wanting to leave the job, than someone saying, hey, I have an opportunity.
Can I give you one or two examples? I think so. Typically, if you look at case studies, I've been lucky that I've led teams of over 10,000 people. So very large teams spread all across the world and so on, geographically, culturally, totally diverse. Now, take that as an example and take a startup as an example where somebody is just about starting off an organization. So there are 50, 20 people, 50 people, 100 people or whatever. Now, at this stage, possibly the founder, CEO has to be in the trenches. Get your hands dirty, get to understand the customer, meet as many customers as you possibly can, and so on and so forth. Yet, on the other hand, so this is what the hat really required is, to be in the trenches, have the fireman's hat on. Whereas on the other hand, if you go to the other end of the spectrum, somebody who's leading a very large global team, everybody I've coached has made that one common statement saying, oh, I'm overworked, I'm doing 12 hours a day, and so on and so forth. And when I peel the onion a little bit more to say, okay, tell me, what are you doing 12 hours a day? Invariably, they are doing the job that they should have delegated to the next level. Invariably, they are doing one level below's job. And consequently, this person has to be more of an advisory role, has to be more a strategist role, has to be more of a charioteer rather than a horse. You have to be charioting, and there may be 10 horses you have in your direct report team. But if you start to run yourself, then obviously you're slowing down the chariot effect. So the move from removing the hat of being in the trenches to being in an advisory capacity, being in the strategy capacity, and teaching and developing others. At this level, my primary job is just building more leaders. That's it.
I wanted to add to that. That's a great point. And there is a strong strategy that organizations must use when they're identifying and growing their next leaders. Being part of an organization that we pride ourselves on growing our leaders, but sometimes what we found historically is the phrase of you grow someone to their highest level of incompetence. You grow them to where they think they could, you should see them, but they haven't built those skills to get to that level. So once you identify a potential leader, what steps do you need to take to help them rise to that next leadership level? And often that takes, leadership courses, trainings, other opportunities or other resources that need to be poured into those staff so that they can be successful in those roles.
Yeah, no, you guys, you're hitting it on the nail, and you're reminding me. I coached several people who became leadership positions, but did not have the capabilities. And I remember asking this question to some of my clients, which is, what do you need to change your mindset from an individual mindset to a team mindset? Because that's a completely different skill set, and that's a completely different mindset. So, and it is important. So, what are the external resources they can invest in themselves, and what are resources that the company can invest in them in different ways? Najla, and then Pedro, I would love to hear you.
Right. So I think it does have to be totally self-motivated. Like the individual has to want to, right, grow with the organization or want to take on more responsibilities and become a member of the executive leadership team. And so a lot of the times that conversation or discussion for us, what happened during their performance evaluation, and then goals will be identified. How do you get there? The external trainings, what can we do to support you through that, etc. But we recently just rolled out a career ladder internally with our organization, so individuals can apply to higher level positions, and it comes with additional trainings and mentorship and things of that nature, so we can make sure that we are effectively growing you within the organization. Because to Michelle's point, especially in a nonprofit, right? You see an individual that's dedicated, they're loyal, they show up every day, they do their job, and you're like, yeah, you're my next manager, right? Without equipping them with the management skills. And so I would just make sure that it is self-motivated, that the person wants that next step so that they can authentically answer, right, where their weaknesses are and what they think their external training should be, but also embed something in your organization that you can make sure that you can track that as well.
Oh, thank you, Najla. Pedro, what would you like to add?
I think she just went to the point. I mean, the best thing that a leader can do is to find the people who is really motivated to be a leader. Because nowadays, I mean, we think everybody wants to be a boss, but I don't think so. I don't think so. It's like many people don't want to be a boss because they also understand what it takes. So you, as a leader, your goal is to find those who are motivated to be you, right? And yeah, I think, according to my experience, I think whatever you want to be, the motivation is it's a requisite that it's like top tier. You need to be motivated, whatever you want to do in life, and to be a leader, it's compulsory. So I don't know, leave the people who is not motivated to be you, to continue being them, and look forward for these people who wants to be leaders, CEOs, and yeah, I think it's a pretty good point.
Oh, absolutely. And this is the other part about being a leader. I know, Najla, you and I joked about it. Leaders actually hire people smarter than them. So it's not about us being the lead in the room and the smartest person in the room. Actually, it's all about us navigating how all these smart people can work together, because smart people need to learn the people skills of working together.
That's my number one go-to. I am not the smartest person at this table. Do not wait for me to respond. Do not wait to start a meeting until I get on. My expectation is that, right, you guys can do the job with or without me, because as you mentioned, like, I'm supposed to be here doing things of this nature, exposing the organization, and I expect my leaders, right, to ensure that the organization's impact and mission is still driving.
However, we forget, at times we've grown up as experts in our domain, and at some stage we need to transition to being a leader of experts rather than being an expert leader.
Yes.
And we forget that. Quite, I've seen that. In fact, again, taking the cue from parenting, I've had and I'm sure each one of us has had that opportunity. We promote an individual contributor because he's so good. He or she is so good in the technical skill that he or she was hired for, and yet when we move the person to a leadership role, we've lost an individual contributor who's really, really smart, and we've gained a very poor leader. Happens all the time. Happens all the time. So, and just like parenting, suddenly when you become a parent, Pedro will know, with 1 year, it's a different world altogether. It's such a leadership is such a selfless role. Parenting is such a selfless role that it's all about the child. It's all about the followers.
And I just want to add, you have to be okay with not receiving recognition, right?
Absolutely.
It's a thankless job. It's a thankless job, right? So you have to be strong enough, I think, in your leadership skills and insight to understand that it's a thankless position. So the same recognition that you are ensuring that you give out, 9 times out of 10 you don't.
All said and done, an individual contributor role is a selfish role. That I'm bothered about my own metrics. As long as I'm green, I don't care what's happening to the rest of the company. But a leader's job is a totally self, and that transition therefore is so difficult. It's just so difficult.
No, I appreciate all of you, and I know we can speak forever. At the same time, we do need to come closing. So I would love to ask this question. What is one piece of wisdom that you would love everybody in this room to know from the spaces you're coming from your backgrounds?
Deliver more than what you want. So I'm giving you 2. One, of course, is listening. Listening. I think that is the one thing that and it's the most underrated leadership skill, the way I see it. And the second is flexibility. If we are rigid and I know it all and I'm the boss and I know, and I'm always in a tell mode, chances are I will never be a good leader. So flexibility.
Thank you. Pedro.
Okay. I think she mentioned before, but I think it's understand who is the person you are giving feedback to.
I would say authenticity, being honest, not only with yourself, but with others, being okay to say, yeah, I made a mistake as a leader, or I thought this was the right decision, we have to pivot, being okay to say that.
So I was going to say all the things that clearly they said, but I think just be open to courageous conversations and build a culture within your organization to say that we can have open, courageous conversations at whatever level, and it will be well received.
Yeah, and I'm just going to kind of piggyback off of all of you. When it comes to being a leader, if people want to be bosses, how can we support them? And if people want to pivot out of them, the question still exists. How can we help them? So thank you, everybody, for this beautiful conversation. I hope everybody here got what they needed, and looking forward to connecting with you further. Thank you. If they have any questions, they're welcome, of course.
Thank you.